students. Who doesn't love weekends? Full of selfies, snaps, chats, and whatever else you get up to. So fuel your passion for the weekend with a little help from Vodafone X. Switch today and get unlimited weekends and 20 gigs of 4G data for just €20 top-up. Plus 100 minutes of calls and unlimited texts. Now that's more fuel for more fun. Search Vodafone X now. For full terms, conditions and limitations, including our fair usage policy, see Vodafone.ie.
I'd like an answer to the question, Judge. You can't handle the truth.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Welcome to After Hours AM, The Criminal Code, with your hosts, Joel Sturgis, Eric Olsen, and Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, The Criminal Code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me, as always,
Eric Olsen.
Hey, Eric. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. I haven't had a bad week. Good. You know, busy, running around, all the usual stuff. Lots of weird things going on in the world, but
tons of weird things.
Nothing terrible on my end, so that's a good week.
Well, that is really good to hear, because we're going to ruin your week now, because we're going to go talk about more of the Me Too stuff that I believe really needs to be talked about, like we talked about off air, that we really need to flesh this out a little bit, because it's becoming such a big, overarching, oversweeping thing in our culture right now.
It's amazing. And we want to emphasize, we know we've talked about it before, but I was trying to decide what direction do we go tonight, and just kind of going back and forth, looking at different approach, different topics. There's obviously tons of things. There's always tons of crime, no problem there. But all of these stories that we're going to talk about in the second hour, they were all published today.
Isn't that amazing? All these stories published today, and it just keeps getting weirder and weirder, and who's involved is getting weirder and weirder. And, of course, we're going to touch on the Stormy Daniels affair, no pun intended, with her coming on 60 Minutes and talking. And I have my own theories of why she's so public. I have my very own theories on that one. I think it really speaks to safety, is why she's so public.
It could well. And the other side of the coin with her, which is, everyone can make jokes, and there's a lot of humor to it. There's no question about it. The way she handled it was funny. But the takeaway is women can control their situation. Now, I'm not talking about like in a rape situation. I'm not talking about physically, but I'm talking about short of that. Women actually do have a lot of power, and she made a huge point of saying, I wasn't a victim here, and I'm not Me Too, and if I were to pretend that, then I would be doing a disservice to real victims. And she seemed to have control over that situation from the beginning, and she knew how to play him, knew how to work him, and he was trying to suck up to her. That's what's hilarious about it.
Well, we're going to get into that next hour, but you're absolutely correct. We watched that all unfold. It still is unfolding, and the backlash is not over. We'll be talking about that much, much more, this whole situation, top of hour 2, and I think you guys will be shocked at some of the players that are coming out to being involved as well. It's reaching really deep into society, even now, even further into the medical practices.
It's everywhere. And oh my God, Michigan State, If you would have told me how long, I don't even know how long ago it was, with the football coach at
Sandusky,
Sandusky, of course, how could I not think of that name, at Penn State, that there could ever be a more scandalous, more disruptive, more damaging situation than his situation at Penn State, well, the situation at Michigan State is now worse.
Oh, way worse. Tenfold worse, in my opinion. I mean, not that you can really compare the two because they're both horrible, but as far as the victim count, it's way worse. And really, the Penn State, though, you had Joe Paterno, who was an absolute icon of Penn State for years and years and years. They wiped him clean as well in that whole storm.
Yeah, he was jettisoned.
Yeah.
Of course, he was of retirement age.
Well, I think they wiped away. I think they wiped away any acknowledgement of his presence, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they tried. Yeah. I mean, he's in limbo. You're right. He is currently in limbo, I would say. Historical limbo. That no one knows exactly how do you deal with him now, you know?
Yeah, what? I mean, the guy was a winner, and the guy shaped football in a lot of ways. Things like that. So, yeah, that's another story that really people still talk about to this day, and that has been thrown in there with the Me Too stuff. That, you know, it's not just women, though. Some men. I mean, even, what's his name? Terry Crews came out with his own story. So,
right, he was harassed.
Exactly.
And Kevin Spacey, look at where he's
Well,
headed.
yeah, look at him. Look what he has done. So definitely, it's way, way far-reaching. But let's talk a little bit about some headlines, shall we? True crime headlines. Now, Eric, if you were the grandson of Chuck Manson, you know, Charlie Manson, would you want to admit that? Would you want to admit to being his grandson?
All right, we just had, I can't believe this, had a bizarre, I think it must have been a solar flare, because here is what it sounded like in my headphones. Would you like to be his grandson?
It sounded fine on my end. Wow.
So, whose grandson are we not being?
Charlie Manson.
No,
Chuck.
I would not want to be his
Okay, now, not only does he have a grandson, but his grandson fought for the legal right over Charles Manson's body.
Has it been proven now beyond
Yes,
he is his biological grandson?
DNA did confirm that he is indeed Charles Manson's grandson.
Okay.
Now, he would have been the son of Charles Manson's son who committed suicide. So, and he changed his last name to White, and I forget what his first name was, but I'm sure it's in this article, because have not read this article either. It really piqued my interest. I wanted to save this one fresh, just so we all could go over it together. At least 3 people claimed that they had legal rights to dispose of the body of cult leader Charles Manson. Now, court has ruled in favor of Manson's purported grandson, Jason Freeman. Manson died in November while serving a life sentence for directing the notorious killing spree in Los Angeles in 1969. Since then, his remains have been stored in California Kern County as the legal battle ensued. So he's been in the freezer. Now, I did hear, though, that they had a hard time keeping old Chuck together. He was falling apart. His body was decomposing pretty fast. They had a hard time. So, you know, they even put gloves on this guy and everything, Charles Manson, you know, like Michael Jackson style. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my.
So, yeah, to keep them together.
And you know who's particularly susceptible to that is writers of music, because they spend their whole life composing.
Yeah.
And then they die, and they immediately start decomposing.
Exactly, and he was somewhat of a rock star at one point.
Well, I guess he was. He was a songwriter.
He was. Okay. Manson died in November while serving a life sentence for directing the murders, of course. And he was being kept on ice in Kern County all this time while the court battle played out between these 3 people. Freeman did not immediately clarify his plans of disposing of the body, according to the Associated Press. He was not going to clue them in, but has previously said that he would cremate and spread the ashes of Manson and put the rest put him to rest. This so-called monster, he said, this historical figure that shouldn't have been blown up as big as he was, because now it's going to go on later on. I did read a little bit of this. Charles Manson always believed he had clean hands. He believed he was innocent, that he was railroaded.
He did?
Yeah, Charles Manson. Oh yeah, if you hear that, I'm innocent. You know the interviews. You know he would eventually get to that. Hey man, I'm innocent, man. I had nothing to do with that, man. I didn't tell nobody to do nothing. You remember that? All those times between the that kind of stuff you do. Remember that? I do it really well, unfortunately.
That was actually really good.
It was good. I'm Charles Manson. You know, that whole thing.
You know, I have heard many of those, and I as we've mentioned in the past, because I lived in L.A. at the time, was at a very impressionable age. I was 11 years old, and so I read Helter Skelter, of course, and then saw the film, and but I wasn't aware that he had never ever admitted to directing these.
No,
I thought his line of reasoning, well, I didn't do it. I didn't touch anyone.
Well, his line of reasoning was just because I said it, I didn't mean them to go do it. Was at one point I heard him say that as well. As, you know, if I told you to go jump off a bridge, you jumped off a bridge. Would that be my fault?
Yes. Especially when you use your apparently, you know, Hitler-like powers.
Well, yeah. He always
persuasion.
Manson always kind of reminded me of a deranged. Well, I guess I can't say too deranged because we know how deranged Bill Cosby is. With his mannerisms once in a while, Bill Cosby would come up with those, you know, I mean, the things he would do. Yeah. So that's what it always reminded me of. I didn't know if he was
verbal tics.
Exactly. I didn't know if he was trying to sell fudge sickles or say he was innocent. I was confused at times. Who was talking? Okay, the cult, of course, killed 7 people over the course of 2 nights in 1969, including actress Sharon Tate, who was pregnant at the time. The legal fight over the cult leader's remains foreshadows what lies ahead as the same, what he wants to do. Okay, this guy comes out now. I'm just going to cut to the chase here. The guy wants to make a documentary. This kid,
the grandson
wants to make a documentary, and you know who's listed as executive producer?
Mike Love of the Beach Boys.
No, Zach Baggins.
Oh no.
Yeah. So they're gonna
Zach.
They're gonna do a documentary chronicling Manson's life up until his death, and then of course the ensuing court battle will also be featured. But that's why the legal fight was going on. So anyhow, the fight was going on, and then the Kern County Superior Court Commissioner Alyssa Knight stated her ruling on Monday that Freeman's Manson's only surviving competent adult next of kin, which means that he will be responsible for everything, funeral, you name it, for good old Chuck. So, which a funeral we all know is come and gone, right?
Yeah,
I mean that's come and gone. So I mean we already know what that is. But the thing of it is, the big part of the story is the fact that they're gonna make a documentary.
Weird. And Zach, I don't know. He's veering off in directions I don't find as interesting. It's all too dark. What it's now seems to be happening with him is, you know, contrary to the statement, remember the intro to every freaking Ghost Adventure.
Well, exactly. Yes.
You know, he wanted to find out, you know, what was behind the incident that had happened to him. You know, I never believed in ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. Until I was confronted with one, and oh my God, now I believe in them. Well, what's funny how they met is he was buying a TV that I'm talking about Baggins was buying a TV off the grandson of Manson that Manson watched. And that's how they struck up a friendship. Zach was trying to buy a television that Manson watched for his museum.
Interesting.
So Freeman sells him the TV and probably goes, hey, by the way, want to make a movie?
Oh, God. Well, I mean, obviously the proof is in the execution, no pun intended. You know, how is this done? You know, how realistic is it? What is their angle? What are they trying to convey? I mean, I hope they're not trying to humanize him. Well, because I mean, come on.
We got a few other players here that are, even to this day, trying to maybe bring another battle. A man named Michael Channels submitted, he purported that Manson, he submitted a statement saying that Manson willed his entire estate to him in 2002, according to court documents.
What estate could he have?
Well, I don't know. And the AP says that Channels is a pen pal who collected and sold Manson memorabilia.
Oh, God. Murderabilia.
Exactly. And they use purported a lot in this in this article. It's like
there's a lot of purported.
That purported while leaves Manson's entire estate to Channels, and that the probate court found some aspect, maybe there's some truth to this, but now they're requiring the Channels to provide further proof that he indeed was, like a witness, maybe. You mean?
Right.
Is somebody collaborating that yeah, Chucky, yeah, he left this whole thing between the he said he could have everything. So, in between those. But anyhow, that's what's going on here, and of course, he's the grandson wins. He wins the court case. He gets Manson's, what's left of him anyway. So then he gets, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to Laguna Beach. I'm going to go ahead and dump these ashes, right? So they're dumping the ashes. There's like 4 or 5 people dumping this ashes. A wind blows up right at the perfect time, and everybody gets covered with Charles Manson. Everybody.
A little Charlie in your face.
Everybody gets a little Charlie. Now little Charlie's in everybody. Because I'm sure they breathed while it's going on. So now they have a little Charles Manson inside of them.
Unbelievable.
So as far as the movie goes, I'm shocked, to be honest with you, Zach Baggins is going to have anything to do with the movie. That there is actually going to be a movie, a documentary made about this. Because quite honestly, Manson stuff in documentary form is everywhere. I mean, what can they add? I mean, I suppose the X Factor would be the grandson of his story, but
right.
They really can't add anything new to the table. I mean, there's some...
Unless he literally has, footage of him interacting with Manson, maybe. But, I mean, that's pure speculation. I agree. I mean, about...
He did try...
A tale that's been beaten to death. Again, no pun intended.
Yeah, well, this kid, this Jason, he tried to form a bond over the last 3 years with Manson, and he would talk to him, and of course Manson would say, "What do you want from me?" That's allegedly what he'd say to him. "What do you want? I got nothing for you."
Besides
Exactly.
That you do oh so well.
I know. Unfortunately, I'm caught now in that whole thing of wanting to do that. The whole show. When I'm talking. But no, evidently. Yeah, he tried to form a relationship with Manson. And when Manson said, "Well, what do you want from me?" He says, "I just want to form I want to create a bond with my grandfather."
Yeah.
So, and then I want your body when you kick it.
Famous serial killer of all time.
Yeah, exactly. And that when you kick it, I want to be able to, tour you around the nation. Show you off.
With gloves on.
I'm surprised that he didn't tour him around the nation. Him and Zach. Now coming to a city near you. The Manson tour.
It would have just been too grim.
Would you have been surprised, though?
No. I mean, I wouldn't have been shocked, that's for sure.
Coming to a theater near you, the Manson experiment.
And what? Yep, there he is, all dead and everything.
Yeah.
He's old, he's dead, he's a little green around the gills. Yep, that's him.
But, the movie, so look for that. That'll be an upcoming release in 2019. Look for that to come out, that documentary chronicling this Jason Freeman's battle to get his grandfather's remains. So that is that. So keep an eye out for that. I did see Demon House, by the way, and we'll talk about that further tomorrow night during our paranormal show, but I don't know. It wasn't all the greatest in my opinion, but that's just my humble opinion.
If it wasn't the worst, then that would be better than some things I've heard.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst in the world. I mean, I've seen worse things, but it wasn't. You gotta suspend your belief for a big part of the movie, because there's just no evidence. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, you're right. We'll get it tomorrow. But just one more sentence. I believe you said that you had the impression anyway that it was a lot more about the original owners, the family, than it was about his experiences.
Yeah, it really centered around them. I mean, the people that I was expecting paranormal investigation to happen, and it didn't happen. Of course, he was locked out. And then some of the players, I'm one of those guys. I kind of disturb stuff once in a while. And it came out that the camera guy that gets possessed in the film, he has an IMDb page, and he's already been in like 6 horror films as an actor. Camera guy.
You're talking about this film now?
This film. There was a camera guy that allegedly gets possessed, right? Like while he's in a demon house. Going, oh my God, I'm possessed. I forgot.
I got demons running off.
Exactly. I got the demons. I got the demons. So he's acting all crazy. Well, it was so over the top. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's got to be an actor. I mean, it is just way over the top. So lo and behold, I look him up. Yep, he has an IMDb credit as an actor in several low-budget horror films.
Interesting.
So was it real, or was he an actor the whole time?
Was it Memorex?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? That's not for me to really speculate. I'm just saying that the guy has credentials of being an actor, not a cameraman. Things that make you go,
That is somewhat suspicious, though not necessarily damning.
No, it's not damning, but it kind of, I don't know, in my mind, it kind of shoots a little bit of credibility, shoots the credibility away from it a little bit, loses a little bit of its luster.
I agree.
Anywho, okay, one really, really, really bad story, of course, the police officials in Sacramento, California.
Yeah.
We saw that horrible video, and, that poor guy Stephen Clark never even stood a chance. It is ugly. If you haven't seen the video, it's very graphic, very ugly. Though not as graphic as the guy getting shot up in the hallway. Nowhere near as graphic as that one, but it's up there. I mean, they just kind of go full bore on this guy. Police officials in Sacramento, California boast about their use of body cameras and the quick release of the footage they captured as the centerpiece of a large effort to improve the public's trust. But here's the problem with that whole centerpiece of the public's trust. When you mute the audio, it kind of takes away some of your trust.
Right.
When you go, okay, camera's off, mute it. Okay, well, that kind of took away a little bit of the trust, wouldn't you say?
That seems deceptive to me.
So, but the fatal shooting by police officers last week of an unarmed black man, of course, Stephen Clark, has exposed a potential flaw in the effort to open up and be upfront with everything with these people because of the debate of the body cams. But then what they did was they turned off the microphones on that device. So we couldn't hear what they're talking about. It was almost as soon as they realized he was unarmed, man, they could not shut those things off quick enough.
Man. So wasn't this a case where like 20 shots were fired?
20 rounds are fired at the kid. He was killed, of course. They're chasing someone else entirely. He was in the backyard of his grandmother's house. They turn around the corner and they see a cell phone. I don't know how they saw. I'm not a cop, and I'm not going to speculate, in the heat of the moment and things like that. But they said gun, 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 and it turned out to be a cell phone in his hand. How you mistake a cell phone for a gun? That's anyone's guess. But maybe the screen lighting up might give that away. It's not a gun. I don't know.
Yeah, the shape,
the shape, and the fact it was to his head and he was talking on it. All those things. Most people
thought he was committing suicide.
Most people don't talk into guns. Most of us anyway.
I mean, unless you're really fond of it.
That is true. Unless you just, unless you rub it every night with oil and you sweeten
it.
Go, hey, baby, how you doing? I know you've been locked up all day.
That actually brings up a question I have. To those who have a special relationship with guns, which you say you do, you like them, you appreciate them.
I do. I appreciate them for the tool that they are.
Now, are they a she? do they have a gender identity?
Well, some people do. I do not. I've not named any of my firearms. And but I guess if you wanted to go that far and call it Lola or whatever, you could do that. If you
is it
Sharona.
female usually is my question.
I guess I get. Well, if you go by Full Metal Jacket, it is the movie,
right?
Because they were all females. This is the only, as Arlie Ermy would say, this is the only you're gonna be getting for a long time.
Yeah.
So you know where I'm going with that one. So I don't know. I guess the listener will have to clue us in on whether they think that their firearms are females or males. I would probably think because, I would say more of a female because Betsy, the Red Rider that they named Betsy for the longest time, stuff like that, seems to be gravitating towards female names for firearms.
Well, even Lucille, the
bat.
the bat is a female, and of course cars are usually female.
They are. Eleanor, right, from Gone in 60 Seconds.
Sure. Just car people seem to name their cars, and usually it's female.
Generally speaking, it is female. When you hear them talk about the cars, oh yeah, she's a beauty. I love her.
Exactly.
So yeah, because the lines are so sexy, so I get it.
Ships,
I get it.
Too.
Yeah, ships, everything. Everything's
a she.
Everything is a she, and except when they sink, then they're not a she anymore. No longer are they a she. Son of a...
She let me down.
Yeah, exactly. So getting back to the story, body cam footage from the two officers who shot Clark in a residential backyard after dark on March 18th included the chase, of course. It showed the whole thing. One officer shouting out, "Gun, gun, gun," in a mistaken belief that Clark was armed. Then the gunfire. 20 rounds. 20 rounds were fired at this guy in a really short amount of time. Okay, also... It covers the aftermath as the backup arrives and the officers walk to the street during their exit. One officer says, "Hey, mute." Then the audio cuts from both cameras. So either something was going on because they had to know, and as soon as they found no gun and just a cell phone, I would imagine there was some pucker factor going on. Yeah, one of those moments. Ruh-roh, Raggy. Go, killed another one.
Aye, we did it again.
Well, why they muted, according to the article, why the officers muted their body cams remains unclear. Officer Chief Daniel Him said last week that he could not explain it. There are various reasons, he said, why officers would turn off their camera audio, but he would not say if Clark's shooting was the reason. I would probably say it was the reason.
I would say there's a cause and effect there.
I don't think they're not unrelated. I think there's some relation to that.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see, oh crap, I just shot an unarmed guy in his backyard of his grandmother's house. I might be a little afraid. I might be taken wrong.
I would say it's fairly clear that there is, at minimum, a correlation between the cause and effect there.
But now, this is the other side now. The unanswered questions about the muted cams, it has stoked suspicion amongst Clark's family, as it should, and protesters who have criticized the shooting as an illegal use of force.
Well, and this is not going away. The protesters are all over Sacramento.
They are.
City Hall. This is not one they're letting slide.
Well, the one that just happened, I forget the gentleman's name. I'll have to look it up during the break. But the one that happened in Baton Rouge, they found no wrongdoing on the police officer's part.
Right.
And I thought that one was pretty damning.
Well, as we find out, there really always are
mitigating circumstances.
Yeah, that one they were claiming that the public had not seen the whole picture of what had happened, and that there were other things on video that gave a different perspective, and that did prove or at least tip the scales in favor of, it being just.
This one's different because he was in his grandmother's backyard minding his own business.
This one I really find a hard time.
I always
understanding.
I try to err on the side of the caution of the police because I don't know what it's like to be out there, and I don't know
and me too.
With adrenaline, with everything going. But this one, man, this one seems just a little too much for me. I mean, the guy had a cell phone. For crying out loud. I mean, at no point should they have felt like he was pointing a gun at them. It was a flippin' cell phone.
Yeah. And, he wasn't the right guy, obviously. It was his own property, or at least his grandmother's.
Yes.
And, I mean, as far as I know, I have not heard yet anything that would justify starting to shoot this guy and to keep shooting.
I mean, 20 times.
20 times just to make sure.
20 times, yeah. And then, of course, they cuffed him. Oh, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah.
So.
No kidding.
Yeah. No kidding. He shot the guy 20 times. That's not going to be springing up like the Energizer Bunny. I think he's dead. Well, we have to get out of here. Go to break. Got to go to break. We'll come back. We got more of your true crime headlines. Don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrin Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrin Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Welcome back to After Hours AM. The criminal code. I almost did that, but I stopped myself. I was in a rut there wanting to do it. Welcome back to After Hours AM, the criminal code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Eric, we're going to go down to Texas now. We're going to go all the way down to Texas, and we're going to talk about a guy that decided to blow himself up when people should have said, hey, man, it's not worth blowing up over. But evidently it was.
Unfortunately, he had blown up other people first.
Yes. I mean, it would have been a lot more funny if he was getting ready to go plant a bomb and then it just went up in his car.
I would have preferred that.
Where he'd be the only victim. Then we would have laughed and like, amateur, come on.
Ha ha. Yeah, I used to always laugh when the suicide bombers blew themselves up first. Ha ha.
Yeah, well, after a string of exploding packages terrorized Austin for nearly 3 weeks, police said the search for a serial bomber ended in a suburb outside the Texas capital, when the suspect blew up an explosive inside his car. As officers closed in, authorities said the suspect bomber, identified as Mark Anthony Condit, 23. Wow, young kid was killed after the blast early Wednesday morning.
Yeah, it's a terrible story, but apparently he was yet another, white supremacist.
Exactly, well, the thing of it is, police tracked him down to a hotel north of Austin and followed Condit as he drove away. Police said eventually forced his car to a stop. As multiple officers neared the vehicle, banged on the car window, Condit detonated a bomb inside, knocking back one of the approaching Austin SWAT officers. Police said another SWAT officer fired his gun. Okay, the guy's blowing himself up. I suppose maybe to stop him from detonating. That's why he'd fire his gun. I don't know. At Condit, that's all I could figure. I mean, if the guy's already blown up, why would you shoot at him? He's clearly in pieces.
Well, let's make sure make sure he doesn't reassemble.
We're not going to let the Sacramento people get one over us. Pow, pow.
That is right. We are going to make damn sure that this guy stays down.
That's right. Those little pieces, shoot each and every one of them. Okay, well, anyhow, they shot his gun at Condit, who suffered significant injuries from the blast. Hello? He died.
Yeah, he blew himself up.
He blew himself up. I mean, there isn't any worse way I would have to say to go, though, is to blow yourself up with your own bomb.
Yeah, but I mean, I would think at least it's pretty quick.
Well, then they go on to clear Condit. They were clear of Condit was killed by the explosive or the gunfire. They don't know which, but he was killed. They're not sure which killed him first. The TNT that was loaded in the back of his car or the gun. We're not sure, but one of them got him.
Bullets were coming in, explosives going out. It was a mess.
Exactly.
It was a real mess.
Yeah. Well, see, then, of course, they got him, and they got a confession from him on Condit's phone, by the way.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, so they knew it was definitely him. In this recording made hours before his death, Condit described all of the devices officials found.
How many did he kill?
I think 7, 8. I don't know. I think I'll get there as far as how many he actually killed off with the bombs.
Okay.
I'm sure somewhere in this article as we read along, with a level of basically he's the only one that could have known it. They said that with that kind of level of intimacy of knowing what devices were used. Condit never discuss terrorism or hatred as a possible motivation. Mainly said instead the recording appeared to be an outcry for a very challenged young man. Well, evidently he was really good at making bombs, though. So I gotta give that to him. He had one skill, I guess, making bombs.
And killing people.
Yeah.
So those are, not necessarily the ones I would pick.
And he was talking about changes in his personal life that led him to this point. Well, kaboom. That's a big change in the personal life.
Good God.
No, I guess it's better to go with a bang, I guess. But
he's all over the news.
I know. It's horrible. I'm horrible tonight. While Manley called on communities, that's the police chief, to remain vigilant as he offered a calm note saying the recording discussed all of the known explosive devices. So he is the only guy, as far as they know, he did not have an accomplice.
Good.
So that's good. I mean, the manhunt ended, of course. Was it 3 weeks that he kept this community in terror and trying to see of whether it has a body count here. Deadly campaign, FedExing bombs to people. Wow, when you absolutely have to positively get it there, I guess FedEx is the way to go. Good thing it didn't use UPS. I mean, they're late so often.
Yeah.
You don't want that to happen.
And they wear brown.
But they do, exactly. They do caution. There could be other packages out there that we don't know about yet.
That's possible.
The FBI San Antonio office released a statement, of course. They just don't know if all of the devices are accounted for or just the ones that have gone off. Now, This came on the heels of a tense period in Austin as 5 bombs exploded in the city and nearby, killing 2 people and injuring 4 others. So 2 people were killed, 4 were injured. There's your body count.
All right.
So, that's kind of a low body count for all that work. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but it's, it was a reign of terror.
It was a reign.
Injuries, I think the injuries are pretty serious.
Yeah. So anyhow, the investigation expanded, growing to include hundreds and hundreds of law enforcement officials scouring Central Texas before zoning in on Condit, a 23-year-old former student at Austin Community College who lived in, what is that, Plepageville, however you pronounce that one, a small city in a suburb of Austin. So, anyhow, I bet you it was that damn rap music that got him. So violent, so young, so violent. Damn you, rap music.
And the explosive video games.
Exactly. I'm sure Call of Duty at some point will be named in this article.
Of course.
You ever played Call of Duty? It's kind of fun.
No doubt about it.
You never played Call of Duty?
Who, me? Oh, no.
Never? Not once? Oh, man.
I never really
Call of Duty.
I've never really played anything in the last 20 years.
Wow, man. Call of Duty is actually a lot of fun, by the way. It gets a bad rap as being an uber violent video game, which it is, by the way. But it is a lot of fun shooting things.
Oh, sure. I mean, I love playing, like Capture the Flag, kind of combat games. They're fun.
They are
That's
fun.
what football is. It's simulated combat.
Does your youngster at home, your young son, does he play the Call of Duty, the ever-dreaded Call of Duty?
I don't know. He definitely plays games. There's no question about that. And he has me get them for him periodically.
Because they're big M on the package, right?
But he doesn't really seem to go for the super violent ones.
Well, that's good. That is good. That's good. That's encouraging to hear. Because most of them, man, they love the violence. So,
I know.
Anyhow, the blast killed Anthony Steppen. It was shipped to his house. 39, a father of a young daughter. Police said that they thought it was an isolated incident. Then 10 days later, another explosion, and then another explosion, and then one after that. Oh, man. A college-bound 17-year-old known for his passion for music killed him, too.
Yeah,
he died. It's horrible. Awful. And then a 75-year-old Hispanic woman got hurt. So it's all sad all the way around. So what this really speaks to is this guy was, I don't know, he was a white supremacist, obviously, because it's come out after the fact now, the alt-right that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Right.
But was he more crying for help than he was anything else? And if he was, man, I could think of a lot better ways to call for help.
Yeah, you don't go around blowing people up.
No, that's what porta potties are for.
Or as an expression of teen angst.
Exactly. You blow something up that doesn't really matter, like a toilet.
Right, not people.
No, not unless they, never mind. Anyhow, now bomb making is not as easy as you would think there, Eric. Well, wait a minute. No, you would think that. Never mind. You would think it's easy. There is some home crafting you have to do to build the right bomb. And it's funny because I was reading on the internet, there are websites that will tell you exactly how to build a bomb, like right from square one to the end.
I know. There unfortunately are websites that'll tell you how to do anything and everything within human knowledge, including very negative and destructive things.
Yeah, well, exactly. I wonder how the FedEx driver feels, though. They never get the FedEx guy involved. How did you feel about that, delivering that package you knew blew up?
I bet he's not happy about it.
No, they don't even have him. They only call him the FedEx. The FedEx shipment offered signature. Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay. The FedEx shipments offered a significant moment because investigators were able to obtain surveillance footage of Condit walking into FedEx.
Aha.
Walking into FedEx, they say.
I wonder why he used FedEx.
Well, he absolutely positively had to get there on time. And maybe there's a clock on it. Maybe it was a time bomb. I mean, he didn't want to be late, so he did like the, speedy delivery thing.
Right.
Like, okay, it's going to go off at 12 hours. Can you get it there in 12 hours? Thank you.
It absolutely positively has to be there.
Exactly. Now, don't become castaway with this thing now, okay? I need to get there.
Yeah, right. No volleyballs.
No Wilsons, no guys with weird beards. I just need to get there, okay? Thank you. So that's a story of young Condit, what he had done and blowing people up and doing all sorts of bad things.
And we vote no.
We do. And here's another story that's almost worse in a lot of ways. I guess I shouldn't even put the two in the same ball field, but we all do. We all love our puppies, right, man? We all love our dogs.
Well, sure. Dog
dies in overhead bin on United flight. Airline apologizes.
Yeah, that was nice of them to apologize.
It was great.
Apparently, United has quite a track record of this.
Well, that's what I hear. I mean, after that happened, everyone was coming out going, yeah, my dog died on there too. What the hell's wrong with these people? A family that flew on United Airlines, I bet you they're loving the PR about now. Monday night is mourning their dog after the pet died in overhead bin. An arrangement that had a flight attendant. Okay, arrangement. Okay. Well, I guess it's against their policy though to have dogs in the airplane.
In the overhead bin.
Well, here. Okay. Let me riddle you this here. Let's dig deep into this now.
Okay.
The people were on the United Airline flights, right? That night, Monday night, and they're mourning their dog, of course, in the coming days after it happened, after the pet died in the overhead storage bin. An arrangement that a flight attendant had reportedly insisted upon. So the flight attendant said, no, you must put the dog in the overhead bin. United says it was a tragic accident, and it will be investigated. Well, the incident prompted a shock and outrage and sadness, particularly after it emphasized that a flight attendant had required the dog, a 10-month-old French bulldog, to be placed into the overhead bin, despite the family having basically an argument, a little bit of a back and forth with the flight attendant. But nope, she would not give it up. Your dog has to go up there where it will probably die of suffocation, but it has to go up there anyway.
Oh my God.
See that you are the dog, you pick. Which is it going to be?
So is that what it was? Suffocation?
No, actually, it evidently it hit its head or something during the flight. I guess it hit turbulence, got shaken up quite a bit. The dog dies, so they're in the air, right? And the dog's in the overhead bin, and they could hear the dog whimpering once in a while. And then it stopped. You know what I'm saying? The whimpering stopped.
Yeah.
I know. Why would the flight attendant force the woman to put her dog there? Well, road passenger Maggie Gremmerer. Sorry about that, guys. In a tweet, Gremmerer, too many M's, lady. Get rid of one of those damn M's, would you please? Thank you. But why does all tragic things have to happen with people with huge names? Why can't it be like Jones, Maggie Jones,
or better still, Smith?
Exactly. Why does it have to be these long, ungodly, alphabetical long names? What's up with that?
I've always loved the Asian name Ing. It's spelled N-G.
I went to school the Asian exact perfect name. I know I did go to school with a couple of Asian fellows. They're my friends. One of them last name was Chin, and the other one's last name was Wang.
Really?
But want to hear something even funnier?
But he was not a Balchinian, was he?
No, he was not. But his first name was
what?
Harold.
Harry Wang.
Believe me, we never let him, and he was good-natured about it because we were friends. So we called him Harry Wang. Hey, Harry Wang, get over here. So thank God we're friends. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done that.
Of course not.
Or would we have? but anyhow. Getting back to what's going on here with the dog. So they made the dog go up there. The people, they made him put him up there, the dog. And then later on during the flight, the animal died during the turbulence. It was a 3-hour trip. Since then, the airline has agreed that the situation never should have unfolded the way it did. I bet they're agreeing to that today. Yes.
Boy?
Yeah. Wait, what do you think? You really think that putting a dog in the overhead compartment was a great idea?
Genius!
I know. I love the statements they give out there. I like this. This is a United statement. It says, "This was a tragic accident that never should have occurred, as pets should never be placed in the overhead bin. We assume full responsibility for the tragedy, but really it's your fault." That's what they're saying between the lines. Exactly. And express our deepest condolences to the family.
On the thing that you did.
Exactly, that you did. And really, we take no blame, even though we say we have to because our attorneys are making us do this, but screw you anyway. We are committed to supporting them. We are thoroughly investigating what occurred to prevent this from ever happening again. Wow. Okay, the family was on the United flight, which is 1284, from Houston to New York. LaGuardia Airport, their flight Monday night lasted 3 hours and 25 minutes, according to an online ticketing site. And while passengers said they had heard the barking and the murmuring and the crying of the poor pooch, they were powerless to do anything.
Yeah, sure.
What kind of sheep are we in this country? Does somebody
we are sheeples.
Does not anyone just stand up and go, you know what? Screw this lady. Get the dog out of there.
I can't imagine allowing that to happen. I really can't.
You would think somebody with a set of testicles would stand up. Anybody, male or female, with intestinal fortitude to say, no, this is wrong.
I've had it. I'm not listening to this
I'm not
anymore.
listening to that dog cry anymore. I'm sick of it.
Creature down from a place he was never in a million years supposed to be.
I'm trying to read the new 50 Shades book here. All right, I'm sick of him crying.
Give us all a break.
But nobody stood up. Nobody said, oh, you know what? That might be wrong. Let's not do that. Come on. How big of sheep are we in these airplanes?
Very sheepy.
We really are. That's someone that brought that up earlier to me is, how come no one stood up? How come none of the other passengers didn't say, hey, that's wrong?
I don't know. You would think with this nation of animal lovers, and we are just pretty loony about our pets.
We love our dogs more than our children, damn it.
Most of us, I mean, not all of us, you got the whole dog fighting industry and all that, but most of us really, really care a lot about our pets, like you say, some even more than our children. But it's astonishing that they would allow such a thing to happen. An entire plane full of people, at least those who saw what had happened and knew what was going on, would just say, I don't care what happens. I'm not letting that dog die
exactly.
up there.
And you know what? Want to hear something really good? The family that was affected, they tweeted. Of course, that's the thing to do is tweet, right? So they obviously must have an attorney because their statement says disgusted and traumatized.
Uh-huh.
What does that say to you? Now they're going to go to court and they're going to talk about how disgusting and traumatizing it was.
And how much money they need as a result.
Mm-hmm. You know that's coming next. Yeah. So, I mean, as soon as I saw the disgusted and traumatized, and not sad and not like, oh my God, it's horrible, but traumatized, which is widely known as an acceptable reason to sue. Trauma.
Of course. Post-traumatic stress, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So that did not surprise me to see that tweet coming out from them. And I'm glad they did. Hopefully they sue the pants up of United. But really what that's only going to do is raise everyone's ticket prices.
Yeah, but when you spread it across the thousands, tens of thousands who fly every single day, it's not going to amount to a whole lot, although they may use it as an excuse, but the actual amount will be nominal. But what it really should do then, hopefully, is to really stress to United in particular, but to the transportation industry in general, that they're not allowed to endanger living things.
Exactly. Only people. Only endanger us.
Only people.
With those little itty-bitty, teeny, tiny seats now that they want to give you with no leg room.
Only sheeples.
Only sheeples, right? Okay, now, this now undoubtedly is a black eye for United. And I did not know this, though, which it's endured a string of them. And recently, a public relations nightmare. But it's also known people, now this is actual quotes from people that have flown United. Flying United is a lot like going to the seventh layer of hell, one of them said. Flying United must be a lot like what it would have been like to fly with Adolf Hitler.
These are very positive statements.
They do not. They do not like United. People do not. Their approval rating is below President Trump's.
Wow.
So, not saying that he's, a bad guy, but I'm just saying that his whole rating is not the highest for a president. So theirs is actually lower than his. They only have a 17% approval rating right now.
Oh my God.
That's it. 17% of people go, United, I don't mind them.
That's half of Trump's.
That is half of Trump's.
They'd be happy to have Trump's.
Exactly. Well, anyhow, United says its policies would have been to charge her another extra $125 to have the dog. Yep.
And then give it a seat?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So that would have made more sense, let's face it.
Well, it would have, but I mean, first off, all right. Let me play devil's advocate. There are proper channels.
Why didn't they put
for
dog
doing
in
this? I mean, there's
luggage like they do normally.
Exactly. There's shipping procedures with animals, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, really, I think the owner to some extent is to blame as well. Really, you're going to bring a dog on the plane when clearly there are methods to transport this dog that are far safer. That they do
How
every
large
day.
a dog was it?
It was some type of a French bulldog.
So not tiny.
No, it's not tiny. I mean, it's not Chihuahua. I mean, it's a fairly girthy dog. They get kind of round and.
So
stocky.
I mean, I agree with you. Why would they have thought they should be able to bring it on the plane?
They should have stopped and realized, oh my God, there's a reason why they offer this service to ship animals.
Yeah. I agree. It was not all United's fault.
No, it's definitely the family is partly to blame here. Any judge will see that. They're going to go, wait a minute. You decided to bring this dog on the plane when you had all these other avenues open to you to transport this animal safely and humanely, and you choose to bring it on a plane with you to sit there.
Yeah, I think sadly, well, I don't know if it's sadly, but I think that information that will suppress the award, but I don't think it'll change the verdict.
No, I don't think it will either because people, man, we love our dogs. I love my dog. I mean, he's a member of the family.
I mean, I could see if it was a really tiny dog and
like
they
a baby,
were
like a newborn puppy.
Sure. Well, of course, yes, absolutely. But even just a really small breed, and that they didn't think like a Chihuahua, and they didn't think that the dog could handle the rigors of being stored. Because remember, it gets cold, and there's been a lot of complaints about animals being transported with the luggage too. So it's not complete. That isn't without it peril as well. But
or rent a car, drive it then. You don't want your dog in the airplane, rent a car.
Sure. I mean, if that was an option, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying there were options available, and it's not all United's fault. Although United could have handled it way better than they did. I'm not saying that at all, but also I think the owner's got to be at some fault here with not researching better options to transport this animal.
I would agree with you. There are mitigating circumstances. It is not 100% United's fault, but still, ultimately, when push comes to shove, you who own the airline, you who own the plane,
yes,
you are responsible.
Ultimately, yes. But, also people have to exercise some common sense for crying out loud.
I agree.
Use that thing between your shoulders. Think, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, maybe putting this dog up here isn't the best idea, and maybe I should pay to have that dog transported properly.
Yeah, it sounds like they were avoiding fees.
That's exactly what they were doing. Is they were hoping to get one passed. He's
my carry-on.
Exactly. He's my service dog. Hey, he's got to come on. But no. Use your mind. use that common sense thing. That
Free your mind and your butt will fall.
Exactly. So anyhow, that is the news of the week. That's your true crime headlines. We come back, we're going to dive headlong yet one more time into the breach of the Me Too movement. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's a shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Rugby, the footy, the horses, the golf, the GA. Students, whatever you're a fan of, fuel your passion for sport with a little help from Vodafone X. Switch today and never miss a moment with Sky Sports mobile TV and 20 gigs of 4G data for just €20 top-up, plus 100 minutes of calls and unlimited texts. Now that's more fuel for more fun. Search Vodafone X now. For full terms, conditions and limitations, including our fair usage policy, see Vodafone.ie.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Eric, I'm going to step aside. I'm going to let you MC this second half of the show, man, because it's very, very deep and there's a lot to it.
Yeah, so to set this up a bit, I was casting about through the news and thinking about what direction we should go. Basically, we're booked up with individual guests kind of from here on out. Tonight was kind of the last night in the schedule where we had a bit of a break. I think it's because of Easter week in terms of having a guest. So we're just trying to come up with a topic and thinking about it. And it was astonishing that every single story that we're going to talk about now for the next hour was published today. So this is literally just one day's worth of what's going on out there. And I noticed that there was a particular concentration of sex attack accusations because, you know, we want to make this show fun. Sex attack.
I was going to say that again. What? Sex attack. Yep.
Sex attack. Accusations. Every one of these, or actually, these were concentrated in a few areas. We have the entertainment business. We have the publishing industry, which is certainly related to entertainment. They're all media. And then, of course, we had yet another just, oh my God, the cesspool that is the sex attack cesspool that has become Michigan State. So we have the entertainment industry, publishing industry, and then Michigan State. And all of these stories were published in the same day.
But to be fair,
it's
sir,
a snapshot. It's a snapshot of what's going on. Yes.
But nobody's shocked at the R. Kelly story. Come on.
Well,
Nobody.
No, but I mean, it's not that it's not real.
I know, but as far as shock factor, I read that one. I'm like, went to the next one.
Yeah, because that news is, 25 years old. But I mean, it gets. Let's get into the nitty gritty here, because this is all about. There's a new documentary coming out, or maybe it's already out, on BBC 3, and it's called R. Kelly, Sex, Girls, and Videotape.
But didn't he already get busted for something naughty a few years ago?
He's been busted many times, but apparently so far, a la certain individuals who will remain nameless, he's been able to avoid conviction by paying people off.
Oh, I see. He did the old pay you for your silence dealy. Okay.
And NDAs. And he's got the cash. So let's talk about R. Kelly. All right. So again, this is revelations from a new documentary, R. Kelly, Sex, Girls, and Videotapes. R. Kelly, who is one of the most successful R&B singers of all time. I didn't realize he'd had this many hits.
He's quite the prolific rapper.
6 #1 albums in the U.S. and 7 more in the top 5. So in other words, he's had 13 albums reach the top 5 in the U.S. All right, he's been accused, again, of sexually abusing a girl since she was 14 years old. The allegation, the latest in a string of allegations of the sexual abuse of young women by Kelly, who clearly has a type, was made, referring to another woman, by former girlfriend Kitty Jones in a BBC documentary. All right, so this woman, Kitty Jones, dated Kelly for 2 years. Kitty Jones. Yeah.
P.I.
Catwoman.
Sexy Cleopatra. Is she anywhere in here?
No pictures of her here, but I did find pictures of her. She's not bad. During 2 years of dating Kelly, from 2011 to 2013, Jones, who is now 34, so wow, she's old for him, man.
Oh, yeah, she's aged out now.
Because she at 34, so this was going on 7 years ago, so she was still in her mid to late 20s, way too old for him. Says she was groomed by him and forced to have sex with him and others at least 10 times in a sex dungeon.
A sex dungeon, you say?
Sex dungeon?
Wow.
Have we mentioned the sex dungeon
No,
yet?
we have not mentioned the sex dungeon.
All right, well, let's get into that. She said, I was introduced to one of the girls that he told me he had trained since she was 14. Those were his words. I saw that she was dressed like me, that what she was saying, the things I'd say, and her mannerisms were like mine. That's when it clicked in my head that he had been grooming me and others to become his pets. That's what he called us, his pets.
Oh, man.
Man, this guy's twisted.
He is twisted.
He's got the money, and obviously he's got some kind of, demonic charisma that he's able to. They say it's basically like a cult.
Yeah.
In the BBC documentary, Jones says Kelly was very abusive, physically, mentally, verbally. I think he gets some sort of satisfaction within himself, knowing that he's taking control over people. So he's this domineering, cult-like figure. In July of 2017, Jones, along with 3 other women, spoke out against Kelly for an investigation by reporter Jim DeRogatis. I know Jim DeRogatis.
Do you?
Yeah, I used to talk to him all the time. For BuzzFeed News, in which they accused him of brainwashing a series of women into a cult-like arrangement.
Damn.
Where Kelly required them to have sex with him and control what they wore and when they could use the bathroom or their phones. I mean, this isn't far removed from some of these, issues with the kids being treated this way.
True, very true. It's very much in that same wavelength. You know, what I mean?
He was able to get away with so much more because of money and notoriety.
And let's just throw it out this way. I was told by another forensic psychologist friend of mine that. Not Dr. Cole, but although we miss her greatly right now, that the more successful you are, the more deviance they'll allow.
Exactly. Absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely true. So here's one of the top-selling R&B performers, not just a singer, songwriter, producer, all of it. So in other words, he hasn't just been receiving performers' money over the years.
No, he's rich. He's
songwriter,
rich.
Producer, all of it. And it's, man. All right, let's move along. In 2008, so going back a ways, Kelly was found not guilty of child pornography charges after he was accused of filming and photographing sexual encounters with a 14-year-old girl. This is a repetitive theme.
I am seeing a theme here. He likes them young and willing to bend to his will.
Yeah, and to be trained. And there's more. There's more in this article where he was forcing him to wear schoolgirl outfits and call him daddy.
That is twisted. Now, 1996, I do remember that one too with Tiffany Hawkins.
Sure. Well, and he supposedly married Aaliyah when she was only 15.
Just wrong. Just wrong.
Super, super wrong. To conclude, as you said, none of this is really shocking, but nonetheless, it is terrible and awful, and he shouldn't be able to get away with it. He has reportedly made out-of-court settlements with various other women, including, as you just said, Tiffany Hawkins in 96, who said she had a sexual relationship with him for 3 years from the age of 15. So you would think over the years, over the decades, and with the amount of trouble that he has gotten into, always kind of skirting and staying just outside the criminal law side of things, that he would figure it out and get some sort of treatment and change his ways, but apparently not.
It just sounds like he had no moment of self-realization of what kind of dirtbag he is.
Or he just doesn't care.
No conscience kicked in going, oh, man, maybe what I'm doing is wrong.
It would appear he does not care.
Man, that's sad. That's sad all the way around. Well, mostly sad for the victims and despicable on his part.
And as Kitty said, he seems to enjoy domineering, controlling people's lives. I mean, that's
a psychopath, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
that is what we've talked about before. That's psychopathic tendencies at the very least. I mean, when you're very controlling, you manipulate the narrative, all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It sure is. I hope maybe with this new documentary and all this new attention and in this particular environment right now, that's the other reason his story is important, even though it's nothing new, is this is a different time and place. Things are very different now than they were even a year ago.
Yeah, they are. Way different. Now, people have more of a voice now, no matter how rich you are, no matter how famous you are. People have a voice.
Are coming forth.
They are coming forth, and they're not going to take it anymore.
All right, so literally the same day this story came out about Charlie Walk, and let's find out who he is, also in the music industry. Universal Music Group announced on Wednesday that Charlie Walk, who was the president of the label's Republic Group and briefly a judge on the TV show The Four, and the company have mutually agreed to part ways following an internal review into the music executive's alleged sexual misconduct. Here is yet another one. Listen to all this stuff. How familiar is this beginning to sound? Multiple women accused Walk of making sexual comments, sending unsolicited, sexually explicit pictures and video, exposing his penis and inappropriately touching them both in private and in crowded meetings. Sex attack!
Exactly. I was waiting for the sex attack to come out, because that's what it is. Sex attack, sex attack, sex attack. Now this guy, if you look at him, man, he looks dumb. He looks like a deer caught in the headlights. Like, what? Me? What?
He's one of these dopey, weak chin looking guys. Like, exactly. I'm going to use my power over these women and, see how far I can go. It said he thought it was funny to see how far he could push.
That is not funny, yeah.
Before they would rebel. And all right, so Tristan Cooper-Smith, who worked under Walk while the executive was at Columbia Records, penned a January 29th open letter to Walk. This was after he had been announced as being on the show.
No. Wait. Did it say Walk? I'm gonna roll.
Walk, don't run. All right, so here we go. Tristan Cooper-Smith, I like that name, in a January 29th open letter to Walk listing the numerous instances of harassment she faced during her employment at the label. For a year, I shuddered at the idea of being called into your office where you would stealthily close the door and make lewd comments about my body and share your fantasies of having sex with me, Cooper-Smith wrote. It's awful. And
is awful.
Here's the problem. And we talked about this before the show. We don't want things to go all the way on the other side of things.
No.
The other side of the ledger, and have no one feel like they can ever flirt, interact, joke around, play, interact, or obviously, date, or think about people of the opposite sex, or same sex for that matter, in a sexual manner, because that is kind of a fundamental aspect of life. What people have to know, and what has to change, though, is this culture that exists, apparently, especially at the upper echelons of essentially every industry in America.
Well, what we're lacking in this whole thing, though, right now is a female voice. So we're talking about this, man. I sorely miss Dr. Cole. She could shed some light on the female perspective on it.
Well, and of course we have talked about it before, but yeah, you're absolutely right. And I talk to my wife, I talk to my daughters, I talk to my ex-wife. I mean, these are all women who have been had pressure put on them to greater or lesser extent. I'm not going to get in. I'm going to protect their privacy, but including the worst end of it among the people I just named. And so we're not talking, this is not hypothetical. This is very real. And things simply have to change. Men are not allowed to impose themselves. That's the bottom line. Yeah. Pay attention. Well, read the room.
They're using their power, and that's really where that's the theme here tonight so far, is the power they wielded.
Exactly.
Made them able to do things like this, because if it were you or me, we'd be put underneath the jail. You know what I'm saying? These guys, they have the power, and of course, that would be why they're able to get away with it to a large extent.
Money and power. And how many people, all these people we've been hearing accused, and, for the most part, they've borne out, I guess, to be true, over the last year or so now, since it hit the fan, since the Weinstein hit the fan, since the Weinstein was pulled, the little finger that was pulled out of the dike.
Yep, crumbled the dike.
And the flood hit. I mean, we're hearing the same things over and over and over. Men in positions of power. Women afraid they're going to lose not just that particular job, but their place in the industry, their careers, careers. And this is a lot of these. We're talking about entertainment, the arts. We're talking about people who are passionate about what they do. They're not just doing it for money. It's a career. It's a calling. They didn't want to lose their jobs.
Well, exactly.
I
mean, somewhere right now, Matt Lauer is going, wow, that guy's sick. But
yeah, right, exactly. And Charlie Rose.
I have not heard now, for instance, not to change the subject, but some of these guys will not even admit wrongdoing. Even after they've been caught, they just refuse.
Well, even after they paid them off.
They will not cop to it. No matter what it takes, no matter how red-handed they're caught, they will not just come out and be a human being and apologize.
Yeah, and one of the excuses is, it was all consensual. She was all over me.
She wanted it. I saw the way she looked at my shoes.
Exactly. That's how I could tell. So anyway, to conclude the Charlie Walk tale, as another one bites the dust, this is a quote. The culture at Columbia allowed toxic masculinity from the top down. A former female executive at Columbia who worked for Walk for over a decade told Rolling Stone following Cooper Smith's open letter. So many colleagues have shared mutual stories, but for fear of their careers are afraid to be on the record. I hope that Tristan's courage will help all the women who have confided in me or their friends to come forward to help undo the culture. So it's really not even about heaping as much penalty and opprobrium as possible on some of these individuals. Of course, they need to be to account if they have committed any crimes, surely, and they should apologize if they have been untoward, but not, in a criminal way. They should atone. They should admit it and atone. But I think even more importantly is exactly what this woman just said. It's changing the culture.
Exactly.
That's what we need to achieve.
Exactly. Not necessarily the immediate punishment, which will be there and should happen. But overall, the real goal is to change the culture, the narrative, how things are done, the business of the day. It needs to get changed.
All right. Absolutely right. So now, having talked about the music industry, and look, these are just happen to be the two stories that came through today. When you're talking about a culture, obviously this was going on with other people. And, others have engaged in all of this as well. We're just pointing out specific examples in stories, information that was just published in a single day.
Right? 24-hour news cycle. All these stories come out. It's amazing, and it's also disheartening all at the same time.
It is, but the fact that they are coming out and the fact that these things are now becoming so public and that the drumbeat, it's just becoming boring how many people. It's like I've lost track. You can't even name all the people anymore. For a while, it was shocking as each new name came through. But now it's such an enormous number that it really isn't about the individuals anymore. Obviously it is for the women it's about the individual, but it's really now we're talking about changes to the overall culture.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on now to the book publishing industry. This is an amazing fact that even I, who have had 3 books published and am preparing to or trying to get a deal, working on a deal for a 4th right now as we speak. I was not aware of this. What percentage of the employees in the publishing industry do you think are women?
I would have to say it's probably 60-40.
80-20.
So it's 80% women, huh?
80% women. So the point of that is you have sexual harassment. I think most of these that we're going to hear about now from the publishing industry are more along the lines of harassment than actual criminal behavior.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, so you even have this sense of male entitlement that they're allowed to behave this way, even in an industry that's 80% female.
Which is nuts because you would think it would be the other way around.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You would think they would not feel the right to impose themselves on the employees, all up and down the ladder, who make up 80% of the profession. I mean, that's astonishing. All right, let's get into this one. Before the bottom of the hour, Elizabeth Rusch's picture book about Mario Molina, the Mexican-born chemist who won the Nobel Prize for his work studying the destruction of the Earth's ozone layer, was a decade in the making, a children's book. It took her nearly 30 drafts to get it right, and she was thrilled when the children's publisher Charles Bridge acquired her book in 2013. The book was finally due. Think about that. The time frame, man.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. The book was finally due out next month. Then news broke that the book's illustrator, David Diaz, had been accused of sexual harassment. Worried that the book would be clouded by the controversy, Charles Bridge decided, get this, postpone the publication of Mario and the Hole in the Sky.
That poor lady!
And pulp all the finished copies that had already been printed.
Wow. And
hire a new illustrator.
Oh, that poor lady. Waiting all this time to get it published. Finally, it gets published. Finally, she's getting her chance. Finally, she's doing it all. David Diaz comes along, and he evidently, yeah. Well, it turns out David was kind of a freak. And because of that, we have to get rid of everything.
Every copy of the book destroyed, and they're starting all over again. Not with the text. But
Could you imagine though how much
illustrator.
Imagine how much that book's be worth should you get a copy that somehow dodges the fire heap?
Right. Good point. They said there were copies. Review copies were sent out to critics, so they do exist.
They do. They're going to become worth big bucks someday.
So now the woman has to wait an entire year more. Imagine. Now,
wow.
She said she supports it. She supports
Well,
the
what
act.
else is she going to say? She's going to say, screw you. I want my book done. I don't care if he's a perv.
Exactly. Well, she didn't say that, but I imagine she wouldn't have felt very comfortable saying it. The list of prominent authors mired in harassment scandals has grown, as in seemingly every other industry.
Right.
In recent months, and now includes best-selling children's book authors, prominent political journalists, and a National Book Award-winning novelist. As allegations of sexual harassment sweep through the publishing industry, resulting in canceled book deals, boycotts by bookstores, and expulsions from writers' conferences, publishers, agents, and editors are grappling with how to tackle the issue in an industry where women account for 80% of the employees.
That just blows my mind that an industry with 80% of the female gender being the employees would put up with this, period. I would think, knowing this number now, that would be the one industry insulated from this.
You would think so, and I agree with you. And it just shows you that even in that kind of an environment where the men have some sense of power, so they're prominent illustrators, they're prominent best-selling authors, or they're executives, because remember, when we say 80%, that's the entire up and down
the industry.
Yeah,
it's the whole industry.
It's not, I'll bet you if you look at the percentage of the upper echelon, I bet that's a lot higher percentage men.
I would assume,
than the 80%. So again, it boils down to it's a question of where men feel empowered, even in an industry that's 80% women. They still think that they can get away with it. Well, at least in the past. In October, Penguin Press, my publisher for America's Most Haunted, quickly scrapped a forthcoming book on the 2016 election by John Heilman and Mark Halperin, co-authors of the best-selling political tell-alls Game Change and Double Down, after it emerged that Mr. Halperin had sexually harassed multiple women at ABC News. So many publishers are addressing this. There are some that are not. Apparently, Bill O'Reilly still has his deal.
He does. He even though he got fired
from Fox News.
Yeah, for being a perv.
Still has his book deal because they don't want to give up those sales. He has something like 18 million books in print.
Wow. That's a lot of books. That's a lot of books. That's a lot of money to give up.
It really is. All right, so should we go to break now?
Yeah, let's go to break. We're going to break. We come back. We're going to talk about a little bit more about this. Of course, we got to talk about the Stormy Daniels interview. We got to touch on that as well. That's been lighting up the scoreboards.
Opposite end of the
Exactly, absolutely. We come back right after this. Don't go anywhere. See you in a minute.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So Daddy's little girl thinks she's going to prom tonight with some punk who calls himself Snake.
Yeah, they grow up so fast.
Well, not if I can help it, they don't.
Okay, here's what you do. When that kid shows up, Dad's going to be doing a few chores around the house.
Huh?
It doesn't matter the chore. What's important is that it requires the use of a 60cc gas-powered chainsaw and possibly a mask.
I think it's showtime.
He's here. Dad, I want you to meet...
All right, let her rip.
What's that, honey? Hi, Snake. Great to meet you. But wait, where are you going?
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
And Eric, you know, we were just covering, of course, the Me Too movement and just the news that broke today. Think about that, 24-hour news cycle. We get all these stories hitting us everywhere, from music to publishing to you name it. It just keeps coming. It's like the deluge is not over quite yet.
And I'm very glad you mentioned, Joel, Stormy, because seriously, she is on the opposite end of the spectrum. She is the new face of female empowerment. She controlled that relationship. Mm-hmm. She made it very clear that she was not a victim and that she did not claim to be a victim. And, her fear came after the fact when she was threatened by some threatening anonymous, individual, and then she felt very much pressured on the legal side of things to sign these papers. Mm-hmm. But here she is now, standing up for herself and letting the world know what's happened. All right, so let's finish up with the publishing industry, though, because it's again, it's pretty hard to believe all this is going on in an industry with 80% female employees, which I
that's
find it hard to believe there's any industry that is that big anyway, that is 80% female. All right. Last month, when novelist Anne Ursu published an article on Medium, the publication Medium, about sexual harassment in the children's book world, it set off a cascade of online accusations against prominent authors. Who would have thought all these children's book authors
they get a little lonely. They get a little lonely,
I guess at least as long as they're not harassing children.
Well, that is true. I mean, does it surprise me? In a lot of ways, not really. Because now, again, like you'd said, these are high-power individuals by and large.
Yep,
that are
right.
taking advantage of others, and that has happened for years and years and years and years and years. So it's not anything new. I mean, it's just now it's coming to light and it's becoming something that's not tolerated anymore. But man, was it tolerated for a long time.
An awfully long time. And we're not even today getting into politics. And we should add, it's very, sometimes, we may be perceived as coming from one political direction or another, or being opposed to one side or the other. But on the sexual impropriety,
oh man, that's equal across the board.
Oh my God, you don't get more equal opportunity. I mean, Democrats, Republicans, and I'm sure plenty of others, but of course those are the two parties in power.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knew Ted Kennedy won a try for the swimming team?
Oh God. And JFK, I mean, oh my Lord, and of course Clinton.
Yeah,
I'm actually a huge Clinton fan, but oh my God, his treatment of women and of his wife, no,
that's
I vote no.
It was a bad time, and of course it reaches way back. Like we're just saying, it reaches for years. It's been systemic.
Yeah, it really has. All right, so wrapping up with the publishing industry, Ballantine, which is a Random House imprint, canceled the contract for an adult novel by James Dashner after multiple women accused Dashner of harassment. Mr. Dashner is one of the industry's most successful young adult novelists. His dystopian series, The Maze Runner. So this is The Maze Runner.
Really? That's that guy? Wow.
This is that. He has sold more than 14 million copies of his books.
Damn.
But Random House canceled his deal, so they were ballsy. Another blockbuster author, Jay Asher, who's young adult. It's all young adult or kids stuff.
It is. It's kind of weird.
So this is the guy who wrote 13 Reasons Why.
No, he's part of it now too.
Jay Asher.
I guess now we only have one reason to hate the guy.
But it's a good one. He has more than 4 million copies in print of 13 Reasons Why. He was let go by his agent following a chorus of online accusations that he had harassed women and behaved in a predatory manner at an annual industry conference. Can you imagine how funny that would have been? All these women just turning on this guy. 80% of the people there, and this guy's going crazy, and he's running up and down, shaking wiener in the hallway.
One industry I'm shocked at now, and only because I work in it, and I've seen in the in-between and the other sides of this, is radio. There's not that many. I mean, there's a couple. But I got my own Me Too story. When I was 20, 21 years old, I was working at a station, and our general manager of the station, and back then it was a big deal, was a female. Yeah. And she called me. She used to call me into her office, and because I was a good-looking young guy back in those days, nice full head of hair, nice grin, I'm a cute guy back then, believe it or not. She would harass me.
I believe you.
She would harass me on a daily basis. I would be in her office.
You don't know what to do?
Well, I'd go in there. She'd call me into her office. I'd go in there. Her name was Linda. I'd say, yeah, Linda, you need me? She said, oh, boy, do I ever. Oh, whoa. And then she says, do you know anything about plumbing? Because, man, and I was naive as naive comes. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you need a certified plumber to work on your pipes. She's like, those aren't the pipes I'm talking about, baby.
Oh, Lord.
So I dealt with that for a couple years. And then finally, she did it to the wrong person. And, of course, they didn't take kindly to it. Or rather, their wife didn't take kindly to it. Uh-huh. And then, of course, she was escorted out the door. But for a couple of years, I put up with that.
Well, believe it or not, and I don't know the details other than just the result, but a woman in a mid-level position of power, just mid-level, at my mother's assisted living facility was summarily dismissed. I mean, just boom, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Drop everything now and leave and do not come back for apparently some form of ongoing sexual harassment. She was bugging someone.
Damn, man. Damn. So it can be both sexes, because I know
it can.
Terry
and
Crews,
what does that tell you? Well, go ahead.
The reason why I bring it up is because Terry Crews came out with his own Me Too movement, and at first people were kind of poo-pooing him at first.
Right.
Which really is not right to do. If the guy has something that happened to him, he has every right to speak like anybody else. So luckily, people came to their senses and realized, well, if we poo-poo him, we gotta, that's wrong. And so people have embraced what he has to say.
Yeah, and right. With all this, when it's flowing in different directions from what is, perceived as the norm, in other words, by men in power toward women, when we see it from women in power toward men, when we see it from men toward men, I would imagine even women toward women. Why not, of course. What does that tell us? What it really tells us is this is about power.
That's all it's about, my friend. It really does. It boils down to two things, money and power.
And this is a demonstration to that person of his or her own power.
It's a vulgar.
It makes them feel, screw the other person. Who cares? What difference does it make how I'm coming across or how I'm making other people feel? Yep. It makes me feel even more powerful than I felt before.
It's a vulgar.
I can do this awful crap and get away with it.
It's truly a vulgar display of power.
Yeah, literally, you're right. Exactly, like the album title.
I love that album, by the way. Woo-hoo, Pantera.
That is not a bad one.
Cowboys from Hell.
I do have to admit my attraction to more extreme forms of music, more extreme metal has decreased over the last maybe 15 years. Now, I'm not talking about normal metal, mid-level metal and hard rock.
Like Metallica maybe is your ceiling?
Metallica is fine, yeah. We'll go with that, yeah. And I still like a lot of industrial music, but when you get really, really hardcore, like screamo, for example, I'm just not up to it anymore because man, I'm old. All right, so but still youthful. So anyway, that is what's been going on. And there's even one more story beyond the 13 Stories Why guy. That was Jay Asher. Yet another guy, Sherman Alexie, asked his publisher himself to delay the publication of a forthcoming paperback edition of his memoir, You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, following a recent NPR report, yeah, exactly, in which 3 women accused him of sexual misconduct, ranging from inappropriate comments to unwanted advances. Yeah, hold off on publishing my memoir that says...
And it was so truthful.
You don't have to love me.
Exactly. It's such a truthful title right there.
Yeah, it's probably a little too much, though. Guessing maybe why he said, why don't we hold off on the...
Yeah, let's hold off on that one because I don't want to come off that way, but, because, you don't have to say you love me, but, just let me do what I want.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so there's a roundup of what's been going on in the 80% female publishing industry. Now, to the sexual cesspool. Sex attack.
Sex attack. One more.
That is Michigan State.
I know, right? I mean, it was not bad enough that Larry Nassar guy went down and he was, of course, run out of Michigan State on a rail.
Women over decades.
Exactly, and he deserved all the life sentences he got, by the way.
Oh, God. I mean, it's just insane, the volume. How can such a thing happen? All right, so anyway, and then there's Michigan State. The investigation began with the goal of uncovering how on earth Michigan State University officials had failed to prevent Dr. Lawrence Nassar from assaulting hundreds of young women over decades. But the inquiry took a stunning turn just this week when a university dean was accused of not just facilitating Dr. Nassar's abuse, but of committing sexual misconduct himself.
Oh,
no wonder Nassar
Dr. Bill, why? Why would you do this?
You got a lot of splaining to do, Lucy.
Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
Dr. William D. Strample, who worked as Nasser's boss at the College of Osteopathic Medicine, was accused by investigators of grabbing the buttocks of two female medical students. He suggested that one young woman leave school and become a centerfold model, investigators said, and he stored nude selfies.
Was it Jay Giles' band fan? My blood goes gold. Who says that? Man, you could so be a centerfold. No one uses that line anymore.
Well, apparently 70-year-old heads of osteopathic medicine departments still do.
I guess.
Yeah, this guy's living in the distant past. All right, and he stored nude selfies of Michigan State students on his work computer.
Okay, so he had girls giving him nude selfies?
I don't know. I think he was just collecting them.
He was a collector of nude selfies?
Yeah, that part's unclear. And he was storing them anyway on his work computer.
They're here for a friend. He's doing a little time in prison right now.
Oh, and he also, on his computer, had a video of Dr. Nasser performing treatment, quote unquote, on a young patient. So you know about his treatment,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I know all about his treatment. I heard all about that treatment. I don't want that treatment.
No. Excuse me. No one in the right mind would. Excuse me. A large object has lodged itself in my throat.
Well, that's never good. That's especially on radio.
Hopped on out. It was a frog. As dean of the college, Strample used his office to harass, discriminate, demean, sexually proposition, and sexually assault female students. A detective from Michigan's statewide police agency wrote in an affidavit. Well, that's not good.
Well, that's the understatement of the century.
In my opinion, I would say harassing, discriminating, demeaning, propositioning, and assaulting is to be avoided. The arrest
should be at all costs. We know.
Yeah,
we're proud upon it.
I mean, oh my God! Imagine that department with those two running around.
Wouldn't it be funny if he ended up becoming Jerry Sandusky's cellmate?
They'll be best butt buddies.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's astonishing. All right, the arrest of Dr. Strample, who is 70 and was for 15 years the highest-ranking official at the Osteopathic College, compounded the crisis. I guess he did. Facing Michigan State. It has seen its reputation devastated in recent months as scores of women recounted abuse by Dr. Nasser, a longtime university sports doctor. Women have described a corrupt culture at the university that diminished or ignored the complaints some of them made about Dr. Nasser as far back as the late 90s. 20 years ago, Michigan State's president, Lou Anna K. Simon, left under pressure in January, and trustees have faced calls to resign, even as the state's criminal investigation into the university was expected to continue, and additional charges were possible. Oh, my God.
Wow, man. They're really, really not liking it right now.
And it's a double violation when you have educators who are supposed to be preparing, the next generation for life, who are supposed to be helping young people, not preying upon them.
You're absolutely correct.
So not only were they educators, but there were doctors.
Yeah, they're supposed to be that confidant you can go to with issues. Yeah, I mean, not only are they a doctor, but they're an educator. They're supposed to be the ones if you are having trouble, you could turn to. I mean, that's what we're told as growing up as kids, that, policemen, teachers, firefighters, all these people are people to be trusted and turned to in moments of need.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a violation. I mean, I think it ranks up there with priest abuse,
Yeah, it's right up there.
Abuse by priests, because, again, this is a double whammy. These are medical doctors and they're educators who preyed on these young women, and sometimes very young women, girls, for at least 20 years.
Oh yeah, it was a regular racket over there. It wasn't like a one-time deal. It was years of this, many years, many decades.
And how could people not have known? I mean, think about it.
They
That's
knew,
the worst
Eric.
part.
They
How could
knew.
They not have known?
Eric, they knew. They all know. They all know. Look at the Matt Lauer thing. Everybody started coming out going, yeah, we knew he was weird.
Yeah, we keep hearing the phrase, it was a open secret.
Yeah.
You keep hearing about all these guys. It was, that's an open secret. Oh, stay away from him, man. Don't get caught alone with him.
Yeah.
You know,
well, again, though, money talks, and you know what walks.
Sadly, it is so true. Money and power.
Money
and they
and power,
usually
man.
go hand in hand.
They do. They absolutely do.
All right, well, let's move on to Stormy, who is not a victim.
I know. I Stormy Daniels went on 60 Minutes doing a tell-all about her affair with Donald Trump in 2006, of course, and then subsequently got paid $130K just before the elections to shut her mouth. And now she did go on 60 Minutes, and she did say that, if she talks, she owes $1 million, allegedly. I mean, who knows exactly what's going to happen. But she went on 60 Minutes, and I have my own theories. I'm going to throw a theory out there right away because she had mentioned, and I'll let you take the reins from here, but she had mentioned that she was being threatened. Her life was being threatened. I think her being so public is a way of self-preservation. They're not going to kill her off when she's in the public eye.
I think you're right, and I think she really does have reason to feel that level of fear, especially as she was actually directly threatened face to face by someone in a parking lot, right? Threatening a fellow person who threatened not only her but her infant daughter. I mean, come on. So she felt threatened in that regard, and then she felt extremely pressured and threatened by the attorney, by Cohen.
And again, Cohen, now if this is legitimate, and it seems like it is, he paid $130,000, which would have been illegal to her.
It would have been an illegal campaign contribution.
Exactly. And so I'm curious of where we go from here. And if she is coming out and holds water, will that also, and this is beyond support or not support of Trump, but will that then also empower the other women that have accused him to come back around and say, I told you so, and then give them added credibility?
Well, I'd say it certainly does give them added credibility. I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, she has basically a loophole here, and I mean that's her excuse for being able to talk about it because he didn't sign it. Trump never signed the contract.
Yeah, which is kind of a weak argument if you ask me. But hey, it's an argument, and it's true. He did not sign, but he also denies the affair.
Exactly. And that's the other part of it. She says, I do not want to be lied about. I do not want to be called a liar. I do not want, things that I say are true to be publicly contradicted. And if they are, I'm going to defend myself. And that's what I'm doing right now. Hey, what just came through, literally, this was just published like an hour ago. But it was updated at 9:09. So, not even 2 hours ago, Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, has filed a motion in federal court seeking to depose. So he's President Donald Trump and his lawyer, Michael Cohen, to ask about a $130,000 payout before the 2016 election.
So he wants to talk with Trump about this, is what he wants to do.
Under oath.
Under oath. Now you got to remember, her attorney was, now, full disclosure, if you did watch the interview with him, he was a very hardcore left-wing advocate for a long time.
Oh, yeah. His politics are left-leaning, yeah.
So, I mean, he has a dog in the fight in that regard.
Yes, potentially, sure.
Now, could you call him impartial?
Well, he really, all he has to do is to fulfill his
duty,
obligations as a lawyer, and apparently he's a really kick-ass attorney. I mean, he's just absolutely a tiger in court. I mean, people are saying she could not have brought in, someone better to to represent her and her side of things than this guy. I mean, he is. Sure, part of it is that he is opposed to Trump and the Trump agenda. I don't think there's any question about that. So can he be impartial? Well, he doesn't have to be impartial. He has to represent his client.
Well, that's true. I wonder if he is doing this pro bono.
Oh, I doubt it.
You know what I mean? Where some of them will take a high-profile case, do pro bono for the perks of the profile.
That is actually a very good question, and I do not know the answer to that.
You know what I mean? Like, I do believe that Johnny Cochran has done that when he was alive a couple times. I want to say the attorney that represented some of the people in the Black Lives Matter thing, their families, I want to say he's doing that pro bono. I think he's doing that out of goodness of his heart, though. I don't think he's actually doing it for the press. I think he's doing it for the betterment of man. But don't quote me, because I could be completely wrong. So this guy, though, he is a tiger in court. Come on, what are the odds Trump's going to sit down under oath? Come on.
Well, the thing is, he may not have choice, because as was the precedent that was set with Clinton, speaking of Clinton, back in the 90s, was that a sitting president can be forced to participate in a civil case. He can be deposed. So that's what's going on here, and that's what they're counting on. Let's see. So the request also asked for targeted requests for the production of documents directed to Mr. Trump and Mr. Cohen on various topics relating to the hush agreement, as they call it. Avenatti laid out questions he'd like answered, including whether Trump knew about the hush agreement and the scope of his involvement, where the payment came from. Because, of course, remember, Cohen's still saying he paid it out of his own pocket.
Yes, he is. He's saying that was his money he paid out there. Wasn't Trump's, but they did create the false company to pay her through.
A shell company.
A shell company, absolutely. Somewhere, Robert Mueller is grinning somewhere, ear to ear, and maybe even laughing like a hyena.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of people are saying. They're saying, how ironic would it be if, this administration was able to avoid the slings and arrows, legal slings and arrows from a variety of directions, including Russia and collusion and all that, only to be brought down by a porn star.
By a porn star, of all things. And I am a fan of her work. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, she's a fine actress. She was in actually some legitimate movies, too. So, can't think of it off the top of my head, but she was.
Well, apparently she appeared in The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yep. Forrest Hump.
She was in Space Nuts.
Yep.
She was in Sex Door Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
She was in Knocked Up.
Mm-hmm.
And Lust on the Prairie.
she was in all those fine pieces of cinema.
That I don't 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up are actual.
They were good. They were good films. They were real films.
They weren't
but
porn.
The rest of them were porn movies you just mentioned.
Well, sure.
Well, that's what she does, though. I mean, come on, you can't fault the lady.
That's what she did.
She doesn't do it anymore. I think she's kind of aged out of that now.
Yeah, she's 39.
But
she's a director and a writer and a filmmaker now.
And a smart lady.
She is no dummy.
I mean, a lot of people maybe... I noticed that we're going to right away kind of downplay her intelligence. Like, oh, what do you know? She really showed us she's not stupid.
Well, and she has controlled. I mean, how many times? Yeah. How many times have we heard over the last couple of years what a genius Trump is in controlling the agenda? And he is, man. I give him credit for that.
Absolutely, he is.
He has dominated the news. He has set things up where he controls the agenda. Not this time. Stormy Daniels has controlled the agenda.
Yes, she has.
And he's been left flapping in the wind.
Yeah, I've not seen him tweet hardly anything about this.
Nothing.
Very little.
Other than a just flat, very plain denial, no, that didn't happen.
Man, I bet you that his wife somewhere, that Melania, she's not too happy.
My guess is she is not.
I mean, how do you stand by your man? I mean, if it comes out to be true.
Well, it's very interesting in that I just saw this also today. Talk about today. You know who the commentator? She's kind of a young blonde woman. She goes by the name S.E. Cupp.
S.E. Cupp. That sounds familiar.
She's a commentator. She's a writer, and she's conservative. So she is definitely coming from the conservative side of the spectrum. I assume she's a Republican.
Oh yeah, I see her now. Yeah, she's
been around.
Yeah.
She's been on CNN and whatnot. Well, this conservative commentator said, "I am telling you, Melania, leave that jerk now."
Well, it's sisters before misters. You know what I mean? So they gotta look out for each other, much like with the bro code. So I get it.
So it's interesting that even someone from that political side of the spectrum is saying, wow, this guy, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
You got to leave him like Hillary should have left Bill in the 90s.
Yep. Get rid of him now before he pulls you down even further.
Yep.
Then you can continue your hunt for moose and squirrel.
Moose and squirrel. So what the lesson here is porn stars who might be perceived by many as the, sort of the very bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. Well, not the economic necessarily, but certainly the sociocultural ladder, have in a way the freedom, as long as they're smart, which this woman certainly is, as long as they're smart, they have the freedom that many others do not, because they can be honest, because they have nothing to hide.
They got nothing to hide. Well, we're at the end of the show, Eric, and what have we learned tonight, kids? We have learned, number 1, keep your hands to yourself. Number 2, I had no idea that 80% of the publishing community was women. And number 3, if you're a porn star, you truly can tell the truth. Believe it or not, they're maybe the most truthful people in the world. Till next time, guys, take care of each other, love each other. And don't be part of me too. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.